Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. My name is Sarah Elliott-Cohen, and I have the privilege of being the Executive Director of the Frederick Ashton Foundation. It is such a pleasure to see this room filled with both familiar friends and new faces gathered together to celebrate one of the defining figures of 20th century dance, Sir Frederick Ashton. And what a wonderful setting for this celebration. Ladbroke Hall has a history as colourful as any stage. Built in 1903 as a grand car showroom for the Sunbeam Talbot Motor Company, it is now transformed into a home for the arts, with over 150 live arts events a year, alongside the inspiring Carpenter's Workshop Gallery and award-winning Pellini restaurant. If this is your first visit, I really encourage you to explore further. But tonight belongs to Ashton. We are here to mark what would have been his 121st birthday. And what better way to do so than with a distinguished panel reflecting on how his legacy continues to shape and inspire the dance world today. But before we begin, I hope you will allow me to tell you a little bit about the Frederick Ashton Foundation and what we have been up to. Our mission is simple but profound: to enrich Ashton's legacy and secure his place as one of the world's most influential choreographers. We want to ensure his ballets are not only remembered in archives, but lived, danced, rediscovered, and performed on stages across the globe. To achieve this, we have set ourselves 6 goals. First, and perhaps most importantly, to train a new generation of Ashton repetitors and stagers. Ashton's choreography has a style of its own, musical, intricate, witty, and profoundly human. To protect this, we need highly trained specialists to support companies perform his ballets accurately and with his unique essence and artistry. 6 trainees are already in place, studying hard and learning from our experienced and more seasoned Ashton stagers. Some of them are here this evening, seated at the back of the room, and I hope you'll take the chance to meet them later. It's early days, but I'm sure they will be delighted to share their experiences and aspirations. Secondly, we are enriching Ashton's legacy through a series of public programs. Our Ashton Rediscovered masterclasses continue to sell out, offering audiences rare insights into his lesser-known works. You will find the dates for the next season on the back of your program. And if you're not already a friend of the Foundation, do please sign up on our website. It's free, and you'll be the first to hear about what's coming up. Later this week, we are proud to announce we will be launching Ashton Inspired on the Royal Ballet Opera in Stream. This is a series of 6 short films in which choreographers, including Wayne McGregor and Christopher Wheeldon, reflect on Ashton's influence on their work. The first film, with Ashley Page, goes live tomorrow, and subsequent episodes will appear weekly. From November, they will be available free on our YouTube channels. Third, we aim to expand Ashton's visibility. Last summer, we launched Ashton Worldwide 2024 to 2028, a 5-year international festival of his works. Already 29 companies have said they plan to stage an Ashton ballet before the festival ends, some introducing Ashton to their audiences for the very first time. Galas, too, have seen a surge of his ballets being chosen. Just this weekend, I found myself, umbrella in hand, at Minton House in Dorset, watching 3 Ashton pieces being performed. The weather was unquestionably damp, but the dancing was joyous, and it was a proud moment for the Foundation. Fourth, we've only got 6, it's okay. 4, we are inspiring young dancers. This is something close to my heart, and I'm delighted to say Ashton is now part of the Royal Ballet School's new affiliate training and assessment program, reaching private and recreational schools nationwide. And from 2027, some of his variations will be included in major international competitions such as the Prix de Lausanne and the RAD's Fontaine Award. This means young dancers across the world will not only study his choreography, but with the aid of our resource pack, perform it at the highest level. I can think of no better way to secure his future. And fifth, we are reviving Ashton's lost works. Many of Ashton's ballets were not recorded and thought to be gone forever, but with patient research and reconstruction, we have begun to bring some of them back to life. This summer, Ballet Central performed Foyer de Danse for the first time in 93 years. A truly historic moment. And more treasures are on the way. We're currently restoring Lament at the Waves and a charming pas de deux from Saint-Amand, which we hope to present at future masterclasses. And finally, we're building for the future. Behind the scenes, we're strengthening the foundation's sustainability, building endowment, working with donors, developing partnerships. We now manage all but 4 of Ashton's catalogue of ballets, which means we can directly invest in their preservation and performance. So in just a few short years, the Frederick Ashton Foundation has become quite a force, teaching, supporting, reviving, and inspiring. But this work is not ours alone. It's a collaboration between artists, companies, schools, and audiences like you, people who believe in the unique quality of Ashton's choreography. So as we celebrate Ashton's 121st birthday, let us also celebrate his living legacy. His ballets, with their lyricism, wit, and humanity, still speak to us today as vividly as when they were first created. And with your support, they will continue to do so for generations to come. It is now my great pleasure to welcome our panel. Please join me in thanking writer and broadcaster Sarah Crompton, who will be in conversation with Royal Ballet director Kevin O'Hare, principal dancers Marianela Nuñez and Vadim Muntagirov, and celebrated designer Jasper Conran, as together we honor the inspiration and enduring influence of Sir Frederick Ashton.
Thank you, Sarah, and it's a great pleasure to be here to celebrate such a birthday. Kevin, I'm going to start with you. What difference does it make to the Royal Ballet to have the works of Ashton as its founding base, as the style that has been built?
I think it's so important for the company. He is that foundation stone of the company, and really he was the person that really brought out what the Royal Ballet was about, and the style that we wanted to show the world. And we were a very young company, just starting, and there was all these great companies, and he gave us that point of difference, which I think is incredible. And just thinking about this, I was reading a few notes, and interesting Madam talking about how when you went to the Mariinsky, how it was nearer to Sir Fred, the thought of what they were trying to achieve with the sort of dancing and the sort of work that they were trying to do within the classical form. And so I think, yeah, there wouldn't be a Royal Ballet without Sir Frederick Ashton. I think he put us on the map. He also informed us how to tell a story and how that can be done against some other people's thoughts, that you can't have different characters within ballet. He proved that you can, and how he could distill a story is something that I don't think probably any other choreographer before or certainly has managed to do.
And that makes it a particularly good moment in a way to be talking now, because Vadim and Marianela are literally hot foot from rehearsals for Fee, a Fee Margado, which is, of course, a Mariinsky ballet that Kasavana remembered and brought over. And then Ashton created a completely new version of it. And Vadim, how are you finding it? You haven't danced it for 9 years. How are you finding it to go back in and rehearse?
First of all, I wanted to start saying that it's not very easy to dance with Marianela, because because no, because she doesn't change. So the way she danced 10 years ago, probably even better now. So sometimes I would come into the rehearsal, like last week, this week, and I was like, okay, I'm getting a little bit older, so maybe I can jump a bit less, or like, it's okay. It's you can't fight with that. And then I see Marianela flying, generally, nothing changed. Probably got even better. So that's really, really helpful, because I was injured last year, so I missed chance to dance with Marianela in Cinderella. So actually for 1 year we didn't touch each other. So I'm very happy to be back in the studio, and happy to bring young me again. Hopefully I will bring. It's not quite there yet.
And you came in tonight.
On the picker.
You came in tonight and said you'd been having trouble with the ribbons. I wonder which fitted ribbon you'd be having.
So many things actually could go wrong in this ballet, and I just have to get used to kind of being natural, because once you start concentrating just on ballet steps, and when you start thinking I have to jump very high, then everything becomes really hard, and it probably will be impossible to make throughout the whole ballet. So I'm just trying to find this way just to have fun. So every day we come into the studio, and obviously I can't be flat with my face. I have to, I don't like act, like being happy, so I just have to be happy every day. At the moment it's hard because it's raining also every day. It's so gray, but I think we do it well. Our rehearsal starts quite positive, and we're all like very happy. And yeah, those ribbons. I mean, you rehearse, but you know when you go on stage, everything gonna be different. So you kind of have to stay calm. And I will try to warn new cast, like, just make sure you don't panic, because, you know, maybe there will be an extra note somewhere, and, you know, be ready for that. And I remember when I was doing this ballet for the first time, the most easiest bit was when I did my solos. So when I didn't have like any cartridges or ribbons, I could just concentrate and do my spells and turns. So that was the easiest. And all those props, and it's, I would say, the most challenging.
And you and I talked over the summer a bit about your very earliest time coming to England from Argentina and coming to dance with the Royal Ballet. And you said one of your great discoveries, even at the start, you know, as a 16-year-old when you arrived, was the ballets of Ashton, and suddenly realizing there was this whole different world. How is it sort of living? You spent a summer back in Argentina again. How is it living back in that most British, really, most English of ballets?
Yeah, so discovering his ballets really was one of the things that really wanted me to join the Royal Ballet. And then once I joined the company, and well, first the school and then the company, I got to really, little by little, discover and understand what a treasure these ballets and his works are. And I think what makes me proud, and I think it's a very beautiful thing, that his choreography, I think, gave the company an identity. And there is nothing more beautiful than having that. I think as people, as anything, you know, when you know your identity, and not only identity, a very special one, which a lot of people all over the world, like now when I went back to Argentina or wherever I travel, people are interested, and everybody wants to be in the Royal Ballet. Everybody wants to experience like Ashton's works and all the works actually that we have in the company. So for me, every time I get to have the chance to do one of his works, is an honor, it's a huge responsibility, but also a huge amount of, like, it gives me a huge amount of inspiration. Challenging, very challenging. But yeah, it's something that I treasure. Yeah.
And Jasper, I won't ask you how your rehearsals for Fee are going, but you did meet Ashton once, didn't you? So you have a direct link, if small.
Well, yes, I did meet him at Royal Opera House, with the Queen Mother on first night of the ballet he made for her 80th birthday, and she was there, glittering like you have never seen anybody glitter, and it was a wonderful thing. The lights went down, and the Queen Mother became sort of blittable. She sent throwing light all over the place. Anyway, that was the first time I met him.
Yeah.
But
we'll come on later to talking about the designs for Rendezvous in detail. But I mean, how did it feel? His ballets are partly famous because they have fixed designs. How did it feel coming in to design Rendezvous, and changing it? How did you start thinking about that?
Well, I had a steer from Kevin, which is that he wanted it to be essentially Ashton. So he wanted it to be in that feel. And so I had to think, well, what is Ashton? And it's an English pastoral. I know there are very many other aspects to part Ashton than that, but for this ballet, that's what I felt. And so we started with the set of the original Rendezvous set, and that emerged and it changed bit by bit every day. So it very much resembles the set, but then I added a background which was my garden and the view from my garden. So it felt like I was kind of forging it nicely together.
I think it's a good moment just to watch a tiny bit of Ashton now. And I think we have film of Marianela in the house, which you might just watch. So how did you approach Marguerite and Albert? Who coached you first of all, and what kind of research did you do before you?
Well, first of all, I mean, this is a huge, huge role to take on because obviously of the history of who it was created for. And I remember being very young in the company when it was the revival was done with Sylvie. So that adds another name as well to kind of the huge revival. You know, so obviously Margot and Rudolph and Ashton, the three of them creating this incredible piece. And then I saw it when it was redone with Sylvie. And he quite later on in my career. But I think definitely he came at the right time, thanks to my boss here. And I had an exquisite Armand by my side. So we learned it with our coach, with Alexander, and our rotator, Grant Coyle. But of course, as a ballet lover that I am, I have watched it over the years, many ballerinas taking it on. So that was already kind of in me, even though I have never experienced it in my body. Like I absorbed it every time it was in the rep. Of course, reading the book is definitely huge. But then with works like this, with a genius like Ashton, sometimes, of course, you have to do your own work and you have to go deep and understand the physicalities and all the psychological side of the characters. But actually, he's so good that he serves you everything in a golden tray. Like, if you really follow all the ingredients that he gives you, the story comes alive. So there is no, I have to do this because, no, there is no room for ego. Like, if you really follow his choreography, the story, if you have a great partner by your side, the story just comes to life. Yeah.
It's interesting watching that. And I think Vadim touched on it, that there is, obviously, it's really hard and fast. And you always notice that. But there is that extraordinary sense of freedom in it. So how do you find the balance of that freedom and yet actually making sure you do the
Yeah, it's a combination because also there's a lot of freedom, but there is a lot of stillness, a lot of fast work. I mean, all the shades are there. That's why his work is so good. I think it all comes with the musicality of his work. Like, if you really follow that, if you really feel that, it just allows you to really know the moments where you can let go and just go, abandon yourself, and the moments that you just need to be there. And that's what I mean, between his incredible choreography and the musicality of his work. You just very well directed. The work actually directs you.
And I want to go on to Rendezvous, so which we have photographs of. So is there a difference when we're dancing Ashton? I mean, I presume there is from outside. I mean, Kevin might want to talk about this, between Marguerite and Armand, which is a work made right at the end of his career, and something like Rendezvous that's from the beginning. What do you notice as a dancer?
It's incredible because the identity, the style is so clear. You can watch an Ashton ballet from far and you go like, that's his work. But at the same time, he has a massive range of making something like La Fille Morgane to something like this, to something like Rendezvous, to something like Symphonic Variations, which I love. So, and you kind of go, wait a minute, I can identify his work, like his steps and his choreography, but at the same time, when I look at them, they're all totally different.
So, Kevin, how do you feel? Because you have, over your time as director of the Royal and also as a dancer, you've done a vast range of the work, and there is a huge range that is on offer. What do you notice about the development?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you start to think about it, as it was nearly purer at the beginning when you think of those works like Le Montreux, when you think of symphonic variations, you know, these where this beautiful classicism of his work is so strong. And then over the years, as maybe he developed with the dancers, particularly with Margot Fontaine, but the characters started really drawing through, and so you get then these ballets like The Dream, like Edinburgh Variations, like A Month in the Country. You know, we can go on and on and on. And so I think you do see that, where he knows the company he's working with and the sort of people that are bringing out those roles, obviously particularly Margot Fontaine, but even working with somebody like Lynn Seymour, you know, the things that she brought out in his work. And as Marianela saying about the diversity of his work, that's why I particularly love putting together these. I think it's really... It makes an even stronger impression when you see these bills that we've done, where we have something like Send Ballet, and then you have the Dream, and then you have a Marguerite Lamond or Rhapsody. We were just in Nervi, and we did some smaller diverts, and then Marianela did Marguerite Lamond, and then we finished with Rhapsody. And it's so joyous to see the difference in his style. His style is there, but how he can tell the story so differently through dance in so many different ways is incredible.
You did sing to ballet, didn't you, Vadim? Have I made that? Yeah. So what was that? Because that, to me, seeing it, I thought how surprising it was for Ashton. And I'm not sure I would have picked it, because Ashton actually, for the, I absolutely know it. I thought it was quite...
Jump in here as well, thinking about designs, because when we last did it, actually a few years back, let's admit, about 3 years ago, and I went up into the studio, and the company looked incredible in it, I have to say, and I was like, wow, this did really rehearse it. It was looking really, really strong. And we went down on stage, and I was a bit disappointed, and I was like, oh God, that's not the same thing I just saw yesterday upstairs. And so I had the little and I took the set away completely, and we just did a rehearsal in the black box, and I think I rang Janetta, and I rang a few other people going, oh, I might try and do this. And it looked like a sort of Balanchine work. It looked incredible because it's so precise and it's so brilliantly inventive, and the physicality of it. But then within the program, I was thinking, one, I didn't want everybody just to be talking about why isn't there any sets? I'm not admiring the dancing. We'd forgotten it. But it was interesting because then again I looked up, and it had he himself for taking. I didn't know this, but he taking it away at a certain point and then put it back in again. And so it's just fascinating to see that it can work in many different ways, and again how different he is in choreography.
What was it like? What did you feel dancing at Vadim?
I really enjoyed it. I found it very difficult, especially because, one of the things I think in Frederick Ashton choreography, when I do solos, there's most of the time all the accents are accent down on the music, and I found it's quite hard and heavy on your legs, on your muscles. So that was always my challenge. And almost in any ballets he did. So in Senda Ballet was kind of the same. And also at the same time, after doing the very difficult movements, you would have to stay still. Like you have to stop and then stay being on stage. So usually we do solo, we run in the wings, and we, oh my. And here I finish solo, and then I have to be waiting. And while you're dripping and sweating, so that's very hard.
It's the same in symphonic, right? Yeah, so he's divine in it. But it's that thing, it's like you're there for like 20 minutes and you just literally have and it's just the moments where you need to just kind of break your energy back. You're there, and not even still moments. I think you still like moving little by little.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unusual in symphonic, isn't it, to be on stage on that? But it does, I've always felt that feels like you're in church or something, doesn't it? You've got a moment there where the six of you are together, and you feel that you've all got to be in the same space, feeling the same thing, having that spirit together. But you don't get off together. It's not
let's look at Rendezvous. Have we've got very nice still pictures. Jasper, I did really, so this is ballet that I hadn't seen that often. And when I did see it was when I was really quite young, and it was in the repertoire all the time of the touring company. They did it a lot. So I saw it a lot. So it felt completely fresh to me seeing it in the way that you designed it. With the costumes and so on, what was your inspiration? You told us about the garden. How did you go about redesigning Rendezvous?
Well, I mean, I had a brief to be sort of that era, what I take as that Ashton era, which, and I also had the set, so I'm responding to the set. And the most difficult thing with ballet design is the colors, because you've got all these different formations being made throughout the ballet, and it's how do you curate those different pictures. So even though it's a one-act ballet, even though it's not that many dancers, even though you've still got all these different scenarios going on. So,
and the colours were just absolutely sumptuous. I mean, they must have felt amazing to wear, and they look so beautiful. I thought they just looked sensational.
oh, good.
And also, you had a sort of secret trick with the costumes. If you tell us about what you did with the bodysuit.
Well, I mean, normally, with my first ballet, which was Tombo, which was actually a tribute, David Bitney's tribute to Sir Frederick Ashton, I put elasticated panels in the side of the corsets because they're boned, and I stole the idea of what they do for opera singers, which is they let them breathe. I thought, well, why wouldn't a ballet dance ballerina need to breathe as well? So, and it was extraordinary. I couldn't understand why it had never been done before, or that I knew of. So I've used that quite a lot since then.
Yeah, and Topo is the most, as you say, is David Binhey's sort of tribute in many ways to Ashton's choreography. And you've done 10 ballets with David Binley and worked with Christopher Wheeldon as well. What do you and in each case, in my opinion, you design things that really work beautifully for ballet. What do you think the ingredient of a successful design for ballet is?
Well, the most important thing is you have to work with the dancers. First and foremost, I'm thinking how they're going to be able to dance in that. So most of the ballets I did with David, we were mounting them for the first time. Quite often I designed the costumes before he had done any of the choreography. So, but for me, the most important thing is that it works, that it's, that they can do their job in it. And then the prettiness comes afterwards, or the ugliness if necessary.
And was it different doing Rendezvous from doing those other pieces? Did you have a different feeling about designing, or did you just approach it?
No, I put my Sir Frederick hat on. I absolutely did. I channel the spirit of it. It's the spirit of the Royal Ballet. It's the spirit that I feel. That's what I personally get up the Royal Ballet, and so this is my response to it.
It's lovely. And it's good you mentioned spirit as well, because it leads me into our next little bit of film, which is Vadim being coached in The Blessed Spirit by Ian Sabdell coaching. So perhaps we'll look at that. I find everything about that film just unbelievably moving. I can almost not talk about it. And one of the things, I mean, I find it incredibly moving how you dance it. I find the music really, but also I love the fact that it's such a direct exhibition of how ballet is passed on, and the way that Anthony Down is dancing with you as you do it, and that lovely thing at the end. What was it like being coached by somebody who had originated the role in it, or had worked with Ashton?
Well, of course, I was trying to be like a sponge and get all the information from Anthony. And actually, Anthony, he was so free and open. He didn't restrict me. He was very kind to me, and he gave me confidence, because he said, well, you are a principal dancer, so, I did this way, but if you feel like, I'm not gonna stop you. So by giving that freedom, I felt very good, and we worked really hard, as you could tell. I was being very sweaty. It's actually quite a hard solo. Lots of running around, but as everyone mentioned, Sir Frederick Ashton, the work is so different. Like now I'm just in fee trying to be naughty boy running around, and then suddenly here I have to be a lyrical dancer, in a way have to dance differently, and I like about that. And also, it will feel very different when, for example, Swan Lake will be back, and I have to walk to my solo without tidying up any ribbons on my stick, and I have to do jumps with one arm, not one arm, and using a stick on your shoulder. So many people would say, "Oh, it's I feel like it's like fun ballet," but yes, it's fun, but it's really hard, and I think also Frederick Ashton specialities, doing in bits in between, put the most difficult classical steps. Like, for example, in another classical ballets, we would do particular step, like 32 counts, and then just present this particular step. And in Phi, for example, we have to do this step like 3 times within 3 seconds, and in between when you have to like act. So it's really, really hard. And usually when his ballets are back, it takes quite a while to bring all this into your body.
I think in that film, which is an Ashton Foundation film, which is called made by Lin Wei, called Links in the Chain, which is all about the handing on of the ballets and Eurydice. I mean, it's an amazing film. Anthony Dow actually says that he thought that Ashton always liked the ballerina roles best, that that was what inspired it. But actually, when you talk about it and you think about the male roles in Ashton, they're also really varied and interesting.
Yes, yeah, very interesting and very hard as well. And Marianela is always trying to cheer me up, like in the funny Elsa, when it's coming towards the end of the pas de deux, and she could see me slowly, my smile slowly disappearing. I'm getting more pale. She's like, come on. Or very red. It's either one, pale or very red.
Did you have a favourite Ashton to dance when you were a dancer?
Yeah, I love Do Fee, but also The Dream, I think, was probably a favourite, and the fact that, again, I had Anthony coach me on it, and I think that's so special. And he's such a brilliant coach, and again, he does that thing where he gives you the freedom, but is quite exacting on what the steps should be and how they should be performed. But it's such a great role to take on that whole, which seems like a massive play of Shakespeare's, again how Ashton had distilled it, but then it's such a brilliant part for the male dancer. And again, I can going back to that idea of course he had Anthony Dow in the 60s and 70s
create the fantastic roles on. And that's when really the male dancing really came up within the company. Interesting as well, one of the things that Alexander Akajanov is very keen on, but is also the placement of where the steps are on the stage. And that is, I think, Ashton was fairly keen on that. And people can think, oh, you just go, you dance on the stage or wherever you go. But actually, a lot of it is the placing of where each bit of the pas de deux, say, maybe, or so, and it makes such a difference. And I think Fred was really keen on that, and it's something that you don't think about so much, but it's super important.
I was with Lynn Seymour, she said exactly that about both Vadim and Ashton, that they always had a sense of the pattern on the stage, not just what was coming out. And I think that's really interesting about the qualities of the Royal Ballet as a company, that is part of what you notice.
Yeah, as an audience, you wouldn't know, but if you saw two separate performances where you weren't thinking about it, or where you were thinking about it, you really realise this who's gone amiss.
I think you're raising that quite interesting question about how do you keep it alive. And one of the things that you and I have talked about Ashton is that he is quite radical. He's quite different. So how do you but he also is very English. He looks sometimes perhaps quite pretty. How do you inspire people really to keep looking at and to hand it down the different generation?
I think it is a lot to do with the coach, and that's what's so wonderful about what the Ashton Foundation is doing, is encouraging this next generation of coaches, because I think my generation is for the last people that were in a studio with him, and so then, so many people haven't been actually worked with them, so to get all that information of the people we are lucky enough to still have around, like Sir Anthony for sure, and to get that information and anybody else that we're working with, and really just it is sometimes as simple as a little story, just those little things that can give you the key to what the role's about, that off the cuff remark you might have made, or something that goes, oh, that's what it's about. And it's that, as well as the steps. I mean, it's interesting that the steps are, I think you can learn the steps quite quickly because he's so musical. It doesn't take long. I was just talking to Vanessa about that earlier. You can just, there's a lot of new people doing it this time, making debuts, and I think they've all learnt it probably, but it's about doing it and all of the things you need to do to really hone the character and the steps. So I think, it's very much inspiring that next generation. And it's wonderful when you have dancers like Marianela and Vadim leading the company and showing how it can be and how they still continue to develop those roles, but also for the next generation as well.
Marianela, I do think, as we're both bunheads. We both sit and watch old films all the time and go, oh, did you see this? And it is that freedom, I think, as well. When I look at the older footage, how are there things that have helped you unlock that sense of the kind of flow of the movement, not just...
Yeah, definitely. But it's a whole process. It's not that easy, because that's the interesting thing about Ashton. When you look at it, you go, oh my God, wow, it all flows. I think it's a lot to do with the musicality because it's so beautiful to watch. But it does take a little while to, as I said, you learn the step, but to really process it. But once you do, the freedom comes instantly because it becomes organic and because it's musical. And the other interesting thing is, let's say we hadn't done a fee for almost 10 years. I came back to the studio and I would say I pretty much remembered everything. Like you start hearing the music and it just goes. Your body unlocks and it just goes. So it is fascinating. But also it's inspiring to see all those old videos. When we were learning Rendezvous with Vanessa, she had the version of I don't know, it's 51. I don't know. She had different versions and you saw these ballerinas. And they move really fast and crazy, but beautiful, joy of dance. So also watching those things, you get to see, you get to sense and the flavor that he wanted, and I find that really inspiring. And then also I did get to work with people like us, Sarah Antimidao, let's say, for Monkey in the Country, or Leslie, the first time I did Fee, and all these people that they really knew him, understood him, adored him. So they not only passed on the style of the steps, but by telling all those little stories and by feeling, I think, the love that they have for him, you just fall in love with him and his work. Yeah, it's just beautiful.
This is slightly to you, expert, but was there, like Kevin said, was there a story that unlocked something for you that you remember? With being coached.
Well, maybe because each ballet will have something that will unlock. I mean, definitely Fee was a massive unlocking moment for me. First of all, because it put me in the ballet map when I did matches. But learning that, and it was kind of one of my first big roles, I really did get to understand him and Ashley said. But I say possibly Monkey in the Country was a massive click. Having Anthony there, again, it wasn't just how he passed on the work, but I remember him, I always say, like, he will come to the makeup room, do my makeup, make sure that the hair, where the hair pieces were placed. And like, literally, I didn't have to do anything. By the time the opening night came, I just walked on the stage and I had all the information that needed, all the details. And this is not just with the Ashton work. This is, I'll say, and this is something that I'm very proud, this is of being part of the Royal Ballet, because we are very well looked after in every single way. And that makes a difference on the stage. Yeah. And the quality is not just about how we dance, but it's how is every costume, set, lighting. We do it best.
Do you have questions that you would like to ask any?
I just wanted to ask, I saw Gary and Lauren did a bit of Facade tango. I just wondered, I was ever going to abide the Facade ballet.
Yeah, it is something. I think it's, for us, I think on a smaller stage, I know that it has been done obviously on the big stage. But if there was the Night Merman on a smaller stage, I think is where it works best. And actually, when we had Sarasota here last year, they did it at the Limbury and it worked really well. And actually, Gary and Lauren guest clearance with them as well. So yeah, so I think some of those ballets, they look great, and because the one I was in which was revived with Sir Fred in the 80s, which hadn't been seen for about 30 years, was Valse Noble et Sentimentale, and again Sarasota did that in the Limbury, and again it suits that sort of space, and that's the sort of places where it would be created on.
Because they weren't created in all those early ones in such small spaces, weren't they? With unbelievable.
And that's why everybody was so amazed when they came to Covent Garden and he created a ballet for 6 people.
It's a collaboration, see.
So, Kerry, when you go to other companies, say Canada or Australia or ABT, does the national style change the ballet they're doing?
I think it does to a degree, I have to say. I went over to see La Fille Margade in Paris last year because Marcelina went, and as a guest, they had some injuries, and so they asked me if Marcelina could go, and of course really wanted to make that work for him. Sorry, I'll just say as well, it is interesting, that idea of the how it changes over the years, and I think we have to. And you'd be ashamed if you're saying, because it's wonderful to look at those videos from the past, but we have to celebrate the dancers of today and what they can do and how they can make it their own. And I think each time we do it, like this time with La Fille Margade, it's the Royal Ballet of 2025 doing it. All these wonderful dancers and that That's for me is really important, that we celebrate them and how they perform it. Of course, they get all that information, but they make it their own. And I remember when Jonathan was still working with us, Jonathan Cope, and we watched a performance of Symphonic Variations, and he said, God, it's like watching it in HD now. It's so incredible to see that sort of high definition, and that's to do with the dancers of today and what they can do. But I think it's important. It's not to say that the other dancers, the people that did before, were better or worse. It's just different, and it's for now, and that's what will keep it alive for me.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing that's sort of come up in this conversation, is the sense that Ashton was so often inspired by the dancers, Luke, and when Anthony was saying that to you, he was inspired by how you dance. That's so good, and I think that's the other idea, that every dance has different qualities. Let me just ask you to finish. Is there a role that you're longing to dance that you want Kevin to revive? Yeah.
I'm gonna be here all night.
Yeah, it's got still, but
You go to Mara first. She goes first.
No, I think because his ballets are so different, you feel like you have a very good experience to try all different ways, different ballets, and as Marianela was saying, that something clicked for her month in the country, and surprisingly for me was the same. It was a month in the country because when I was cast for this ballet first time, somehow in the beginning, before we even start rehearsing, I thought, I don't think it's my ballet. And just thinking about it now, like how upset I would be if I would pull out and I wouldn't do this ballet, because I was like, I don't think I want to do, or I'll do it, but I don't think it will be my ballet. And actually, after I performed, it's one of my best ballets. Like, I would love to keep doing this ballet, one of my favorite. And I think maybe it's going to be in the future, say something, maybe Kevin will tell me, and how about you doing this ballet? Yeah. And I said, okay, I'll try it, and it might become my most favorite ballet.
You can have two of your list.
No, that's impossible. No, definitely very excited with this revival of La Fille, for sure. But I think if I can choose, I think it would be like Marguerite and Symphonic. Like it like a ballet.
We'll leave that with wise Kevin. She's so tired. And I think that therefore all I need to say is thank you to all of you for coming to listen to us and to celebrate Frederick Ashton's. But then thank you to all the panel for being so interesting.